Feel free to share your. Okay. All right. All right. Let me start by introducing um, our first speaker for today, uh, Dr. Bendra. I'll just read her profile to us, and she also dropped a link to her LinkedIn profile in the chat box, so you can do it with her, and you'll be able to tap. No, 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 sir. She'll be the one to speak first. Okay. Um. Okay. About her, she's an experienced information security analyst with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education industry. She's skilled in PCI DSS, requirement analysis, risk management, IT governance, ITIL, and security incident response. She is a doctor of philosophy, a PhD focused in computer science from the University of Birmingham. From the University of Birmingham. And she has quite a lot of experience. I looked through her profile and I was impressed. She's currently governance, risks, and assurance specialist from Funding Cycle UK, and she also worked as IT security analyst at the University of Warwick from 2015 to 2021, and also she was a graduate teaching fellow at the University of Birmingham from 2020 to 2021. She was also a doctoral researcher at the University of Birmingham from 2012 to 2016. She was information security analyst at Yale from January 2010 to um, December 2011. It goes as far back as 2005. So she has been around the tech space for a very, very long time. Okay, for a very, very long time. And you can please just check our profile. There's so much more. We have this is one of our most loaded sessions because of the experience of the speakers. In fact, in one of the notices I put out there, I said they have a combined of over 40 years experience. Combined of over 40 years experience. So that is huge. Okay, that is huge in for no matter how you want to look at it. It is really really huge. And for our second speaker as well, Mr. Badi. Okay, Mr. Badi, you can check it. His camera is on. Okay, so you can also see his face. He is the CTO and co-founder of Social Lender, a highly driven technology product lead and innovator for multiple tech-enabled products and startups. He has over 21 years of industry-leading expertise, having a strong background in software development. He has built a track record providing excellent implementation for technology solutions in active use by millions of people, pioneered startups and enterprise solutions in the domestic and African market with a background in technology, business, and technical projects. Emerging market leader, a focus with a focus on innovation, driving strategic business growth, and scaling solutions driven by technology. Bade delivers best use of technology. He believes nothing is impossible, especially in IT. He's a thought leader in his field, sharing his ideas on global stages, as well as winning multiple industry awards and recognition individually and with his team. Okay, so this is just a little that I can give you about Mr. Bade. They both have so much more, but I don't want to take most of our time just giving us our profile when we already have the people here. Okay, so we'll just go straight into hear from them. And like I mentioned, we have two speakers, just as I introduced. uh, they say ladies first. I will give Dr. Bendra her choice. If she wants to go first, fine. If she wants to give Mr. Bade to go first, fine. So you make the choice, man.
Um, I'm actually flexible at this point, so I can go first. I was going to let my
I'm happy to go
boss go
first.
first.
I'm happy to go first.
Yes, let my boss go first. He's the boss.
All right, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. You have the floor, Mr. Badi.
All right. Thank you so much. It's interesting. Mendra called me a boss when I also call her my boss. So yeah. Hi everyone. And can I take over the screen, Alazan? Thank you.
Yes, yes, you can.
You need to
Just
stop
stop
sharing.
sharing.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me
I
clearly.
just Yes, we can hear you clearly. We can
Yeah,
see you clearly.
apologies. I sort of lost my voice. So hi everyone, and thank you for having me here for this edition of the Bincom ICT Career Talk. As you can see, I'm wearing my Bincom shirt, so uh, really exciting to be here. I'm really hoping that this will be an interactive session. So if we're just planning to listen, please let's re-strategize. What we really would like to have, and I had a conversation with Bendra this morning, is to have a conversation. We feel like that would be the best use of everyone's time because that way, specific questions that you have, we will be able to answer. But having said that, I do have a short presentation to jumpstart the conversation. But that presentation itself as well is interactive in nature, and so I'm hoping that you would participate. So the theme for today is navigating the tech job landscape. And I've had the opportunity to mentor quite a number of people over the years. I've had the opportunity to coach quite a number of people in career and also in jobs and all of that. And so one of the things I would ask is that um and this I would like you to please drop in the chat. Do you feel like your tech job landscape looks like this? Right? And so it looks like, well, this is an image generated by AI. Fun fact, every image I used in this presentation was generated by AI. And this is an image of a mountain with you having to go up the mountain, but then it looks really gloomy, really dark. It's all cloudy. And then the pathway itself is not looking very smooth. So it's not like a smooth step by step by step by step or an elevator or maybe an helicopter ride or anything like that. And so my question to everyone, and please put this in the chat. So you want to put either a yes or a no in the chat. And I have a follow-on question from there. Do you feel like your tech job landscape is like this? I would like to see. Oh, yes. So I would like to see what we've got to say in the chat. Right? I'll wait for everyone to put in something in the chat based on that question. I showed an image of a mountain that looks really treacherous, a mountain that you need to climb, but then it seems like there's so much that can go wrong. And the pathway looking very narrow and steps not looking very coordinated. Um, yeah, I'm hoping everyone would be able to drop in the chat. Um, right. I see people dropping already. And so I'm going to ask the follow-on question. Why do you think so? So I would like you to drop one word, one phrase, and so on. So if you said yes, why do you think so? And also if you say no, why do you think so? So it could be a phrase, it could be a sentence, but I want you to say what you think, right? Why do you feel? So I see a lot of yeses on the call already, right? And hopefully we'll see a few no's as well on the call, right? If you said yes, why do you feel so? If you said no, why do you feel so? I see one uncertain on there as well. If you say uncertain, why do you feel so? Just what word comes to mind? What phrase comes to mind? Why do you feel the tech job landscape looks like that, particularly for you, or the industry generally looks that bleak? All right. I'll pause for a moment for everyone to contribute into that this conversation. And at the end of the day, this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, it is a conversation, right? We would like to understand and we would like to share from our own experience as well. And we would like to advise in the little that we can in terms of what you can do next and what the next steps should be. So I would take a pause and hopefully everyone will participate in letting us know what they think as regards the tech job landscape. And while you do that, I would just mention that there are a couple of things going on in the industry that may be concerning to some of us. So, for example, in the last year or so, actually last 2 years, but it was much more rampant in the last year, right after a tech boom, a tech hiring boom, we got to a position where a lot of tech firms, particularly the top ones, were laying off tech workers. And of course, that has a compounding effect if you think about it, because if the top organizations are laying off staff, I'm talking the Googles, the Microsoft, I think it's only Apple that has not yet laid off out of the big organizations so far in tech. It has a ripple effect because then those people are looking for their next role, particularly in the US, where half of a lot of those workers are on one visa or the other tied to that employment. And so flooding the job market. And because the job market is flooded, those that don't have those big tech industry experience are maybe at a bit of a disadvantage because they may not have the right experience that people that is more attractive. So that has happened and that is going on. But this is coming on the back of a tech boom that happened during the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, most human beings did not see the pandemic coming, right? And many people predicted many things. But one of the ones that many people didn't predict at the beginning of the pandemic was the fact that there will be a tech hiring boom into the pandemic and even right after the pandemic, where we had a boom of a lot of organizations expanding, hiring like 10% more employees into the organization at that time and so on. This has happened as well, which is upward trajectory if you want to think of it that way. But then we come to startups. We come to startups that also a number of startups have shut down. Excuse me for a moment. A number of startups have shut down as well. My home economy is Nigeria, right? And within Nigeria, a number of startups that raise funding, the $10 million, the $50 million, the $1 million, a number of them are shut down in the last 12 months or thereabout. And that could also be very concerning. But then on the other side, you will see that a number of people have also been able to raise funding. A number of people have also been able to start something within the last few months. But then in terms of raising funding generally, which is one of the key drivers for the startup economy and the startup culture, you find that it's really harder right now to raise your seed funding or your next funding round. But then even at that, you find that a number of companies are getting to IPO. IPO is usually the exit. That's called initial public offering for those that may not be familiar. IPO is something that a number of companies who are typically in the tech industry, that's something that they are looking forward to say we want to grow to a point when we can go public, right? And we've seen a number of organizations IPOing. And then we've seen a number of organizations that have also achieved the unicorn status. Unicorn status means that your company is valued at $1 billion or more in your last round of funding. And so I've talked about different sides of the coin. I've talked about some part that is not looking very attractive, and I've talked about some parts that is looking really attractive at this point in time. The question I asked you is that which side of the coin do you fall? And I'm just going to read some of the comments we see out here, and then I'll use that to move on in my presentation. If I can just find the comments while sharing screen. Yeah. So a learning process not really just the beginning. I'm not sure if that's the one there. More innovation, so one can't, what's the name? Continual natures of learning is overwhelming. Yeah, that's really interesting. The fact that you are sentenced to having to learn all through your lifetime in the field of technology. Yes, that is true. And it can become really daunting for some people. A lot to learn. Yeah, that seems like a common theme that a number of people have written. Right, which is that you seem to have a lot to learn in the industry. So we agree that I think the middle point is the fact that the landscape may seem daunting. And if you don't hear anything that I've said today, this is the one thing I want to make sure everybody understands and everybody takes action on, which is that regardless of how you feel about the journey, take your next step. Understand what it is that you're doing. Understand why you're doing it. Know where you are. And then take your next step. And that may seem very generic in terms of the advice, because the truth is that different people are at different places. Some people are at the place where they've actually started learning and they've learned a lot. And some people are at the place where they don't even know where to start from. And then this person is saying, take the next step. Right. But the reason why I can say that generic advice is because regardless of where you are, there's the next step forward. It could be talking to someone, it could be learning a new skill, it could be getting experience, it could be volunteering somewhere, it could be finding a mentor, and several other things that you may find in terms of advice. But a key thing is that don't just stay there and do nothing. The only wrong answer is doing nothing. Make sure that what you're doing is that you are taking the next step of that your career journey. Now, of course, it is better you take the next step strategically. But sometimes you may not even be clear on what the strategy is, but at least be clear on two things. It's actually one thing, but I'll say it in two sentences. Be clear of where exactly you are, and be clear on what should you do next today. And that's the most important, I believe, thing I would say today. I would just be qualifying that statement, and I would just be qualifying that by just talking about some key aspects and all. But the key thing, I hope everyone on this call, including myself, because I'm also still building my career, is that we will take the next step in that career journey. And the next step may be daunting. Right? For many of us in the room, we're on the journey to become an expert in the field of technology, right? And generally speaking, the journey is you start from being a newbie to becoming a beginner level, to becoming intermediate level, to becoming expert level, right? But many people make the mistake of assuming that that in itself is a linear journey. The truth is, it's actually a cyclical journey. Because what happens most of the times, and many of the times, what happens is the fact that once you are landing in that next step, then what happens is, please hold for a moment. Sorry for that. I'm pausing to just cough, and I don't want to do that on your cameras. Yeah. Yeah. So what I was saying is that the journey itself is not necessarily linear. To say you become an expert and then that's it. It is cyclical in nature. And the reason why it is because when you start, you generally start as an individual contributor, meaning that your work is the fact that you are contributing by yourself in the organization or in your startup or as a freelancer or whatever your role is. So as a software developer, you are the one writing the code. And then you need to journey from the beginning of, oh, you're a newbie. You don't even know what is a programming language. You are not clear what that is, up until the point where you start mastering one programming language. And generally speaking, we say master two programming languages. There's a reason why. And the truth is, if you know one programming language, you technically know all programming languages. What you need is just to learn the logic and so on for the next one, because ultimately they are all doing the same thing. You are instructing a machine. But yeah, that journey goes to the point where you become intermediate level, and then you become an expert level in being a software developer. A senior developer is what is called in today's parlance. But then what happens is you will then become a manager of people. And then at that point, you become a newbie as well, because now your job is not just for you to be an individual contributor. In addition to being an individual contributor, you also have to manage people. In some cases, in managing those people, you are only responsible for mentoring them. But in some cases, you are now accountable for their delivery. So you are now managing a team of 4 people, or a team of 5 people, or 20 people, or 30 people, and so on. And that begins another journey again, because now the skills that you have is not just the skills that you need, is not just the fact that you are an expert programmer. And I'm only using programming as an example. It's the same thing across many technology roles, whether on the business side of technology or on the technical side of technology. And then that cycle continues again when you're a manager of people. But then it starts again when you become the manager of managers, right? Which means that you don't even get to see the code at all. What you get to see are reports and people doing stuff under you and all of that. And then you grow that way as well. So what I'm trying to point out is this, and somebody mentioned it as your sentence to learning throughout your life. What I'm trying to point out is that it's not a linear journey. But regardless of how you see the journey, the key thing that you want to make sure you're doing is that at every point in time, you are growth focused. You are making sure that you are growing, and you are growing as quickly as possible. There are some things you cannot short circuit. So, for example, for a human to be born, you generally would expect the baby to be in the womb for 9 months. Generally, right? I mean, there can be premature babies and all of that, but generally that's what you expect. So you can't short circuit that. But in some cases, things that you could have been expected to do in one year, you could do in 6 months, meaning that it is a bit shorter. Sometimes you can get lucky as well in terms of opportunities that come. It is not always a linear journey. Regardless of what the journey is, I would just say, please avoid a couple of traps. One of those traps, and I'll focus on just the initial stages where you're an individual contributor, because I'm aware that that's our focus for this room. One of the key idiosyncrasy that we believe in within the Bincom ecosystem is that learn skills, gain experience, and gain exposure. Those are the key things that you should be doing. And those are key things that become like your next step. So remember what I said, the key thing I'm saying to you today in navigating your tech ecosystem is to take your next step. Right. Take your next step. But avoid traps. One of those traps that you should avoid is a stage that I call Captain Local Host. And Captain Local Host is the state where you have learned a lot of tutorials. You've done a lot of different tutorials, but you have no real life experience or real life exposure to back up the things that you have done and you have learned. So technically speaking, you have a lot of theoretical experience and nothing practical. When I interview, one of the key things I'm looking out for at any level is the kinds of projects that you have done and been exposed to. That's one of the key things I'm looking out for. And one thing you should avoid is a case where, oh, you've done this tutorial, you did not apply it, you could not use it in any way. Excuse me again. you could not use that tutorial in any way, then you jump to the next tutorial. And then so you've done a lot of different tutorials, or you've done a lot of different certification, but there's no real life experience to back it up. It's a trap because you are not actually growing. So even though you have theoretical knowledge, you're not really growing. Let me ask you a question. Imagine somebody told you, I want to be a coast guard or a swimming pool guard. I'm not sure what they call it at the swimming pool, right? And then you ask him, oh, do you know how to swim? And the person says, yes, I can swim. I've read a lot of books on swimming, right? And then you ask, oh, have you ever swum before in a swimming pool? Oh, no, I haven't, but I've read every book that there is in swimming. Would you feel safe in that pool? Most likely not. Hopefully, I hope everybody said no, right? And it's the same thing that you want to avoid. You don't want a situation where you are that person with so much experience, but then you have so much knowledge, skills, we may put it that way, but no practical experience in applying that skill. There's a different trap as well, where you are at the point where you have experience, but then no skill and no exposure. And this happens to people where technology have left them behind. You are still focused on hardware systems, dealing with things like systems, what's this called? You're dealing with systems and infrastructure, physical infrastructure, when the world is moving, has moved firmly to cloud. You're still using hard-coded deploy scripts when the world has now gone to CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. You are still on PHP 1 when the world is now in PHP 8. You're still in .NET framework when the world is now upgrading to .NET Core 8. And what happens very quickly is that even though you have that experience in old technology, oh yeah, there's another one. You are still proficient in just waterfall project management methodology when the world is firmly in agile at the moment. Firmly. Though we will still go back a bit to waterfall. There's a different story for that. The point is that don't be in that trap as well, where you have so much experience, but it's outdated experience. Don't also be in the trap of you have a lot of exposure. You know about all of this technology. You know about what is the next thing. You know about what Apple has said. You know what happened in CES 2024. You know what Apple said at the last open day that they had, what Facebook has said, what's happening in the metaverse, AR, AI, and all of that. But you don't actually know how to do it yourself. Because there's a level you get to where your focus will be around just knowing everything about something, right? At my level, I'm CTO of a number of organizations, and part of my job is to know enough about technology and know enough about it so I can put the right experts in the right place to be able to deliver whatever technology I need delivered for my client or for the startup. That's my job. Right. But even at that, there are things that you must know at every level. Don't be in that trap as well, where you have all of those, you can tell all the stories, you can tell all the things that they've said, but then you have not actually built your experience. You have not actually built your exposure. That's also a career trap that you want to avoid. The last one I'll talk about is the one where you have the experience, you have the experience, you have the skill, but you have no exposure. You will be suboptimal in your career. And what do I mean by that? It means that you could be doing X, Y, Z, but all you are doing is X. That's a problem. You would be suboptimal in that area. What you should be aiming for is gradually growing in your career, and gradually gaining the skills, experience, and exposure. I have a couple of tips. I see my time is fast spent. I know I said it was going to be short, but apparently I had more to say than I thought I did have to say. But I'll soon be done. I have a couple of tips for you. First one is just to say, in terms of focusing on that, your next role, first thing to say is that you are responsible for your career. Nobody else is. You could be in a talent development platform like Bincom Dev Center, where we have a strong focus on building your career, getting you to your next role faster, and so on. Or you could be in an organization that simply does not care. They just need you to be able to deliver what they need today, and they don't really care about your career development. Regardless of where you are ultimately responsible for your career. Be strategic in making decisions. In some cases, you may want to move from one organization to the other because you are being strategic about your career. In some cases, you might have an offer of $1 million per month and $10 per month, and maybe the strategic decision for your career is to pick the one of $10 per month. Because I used a really extreme example. It's highly unlikely that you have those extreme options, but you could have interesting options like that. Prioritize your growth. Prioritize the fact that you want to grow to your next level. Don't get complacent. Don't become outdated like I showed earlier. If your role does not give you what you need for the next level, find it elsewhere. And the interesting generation that we are in, when I was growing up in the career, we didn't have YouTube videos freely available as we do have it today. We didn't have Udemy really cheap as we have it today. What you had to do was to go and look for physical books, or in some cases, CDs, right? And so on, for you to be able to read. The truth is, a lot of these things is now available. It is almost like pure water. Basically, it is commonly available. That's what pure water is to us as Nigerians, right? Commonly available. Pure water is now even expensive, but anyway, that's a different conversation. Commonly available. But then do you take advantage of those things? Because if your role where you are today doesn't give you the things that you need, then you need to find ways in which you can optimize for it. A lot of times, what you really need is just time and focus. You need to create time. And a lot of times, some people will say, I don't have time. It is not true. What it is true is that this is not your priority. So it is not really about the fact that you don't have time. Because if I ask you to then say, list out everything you've done in a day, it would be clear that what has happened is that you have decided on your priority to say, this is more of priority than this other one. Excuse me again, please. What I'm saying is that your career growth should be your priority. Think about competitive advantages that you can have today. Think about competitive advantages that you can have at the moment. And some of those competitive advantages are things like Gen AI. Gen AI, for example, is significant advantage today. Right. We've talked about on this platform in the past around how Gen AI is changing the world, and is it going to steal our jobs? And I think the conclusion then was, excuse Gen AI, competitive advantage, emerging technology, it's going to change the world. It's already changing the world. Are you adding that to your career track at the moment? Are you figuring out how can I use it better? I was in a session with a couple of developers yesterday where we were looking at using a Gen AI tool to build a mobile app instead of spending 4 months building the same mobile app. And those are the kinds of things that you want to start building your competitive advantage, because those things are changing. many years ago, there was the note code platforms that were really popular. And there are several different things that may be emerging in your own subsector. Are you staying up to date? Are you aware of what those things are? And when conversations go around that, because the industry, the ecosystem would be looking for people who are proficient in those areas. Be cutting edge. Don't be bleeding edge. That's a different conversation. Don't be bleeding edge and then you die, but be cutting edge, right? Ensure that you start figuring out what is the competitive advantage in my ecosystem. I've worked with a developer before that built something in the that was really useful, not just for him, but for the industry. And that was one of the things that helped him to grow his career. I've worked with people before that were able to figure out, oh, let me build this template because my work is repetitive. I'm building this template that solves that work and makes my work faster. Right. There's a different conversation on why they didn't give that to the employer to use for others to use, different conversation. But my point is that don't just stay still. Look at your ecosystem, stay up to date, and also proactively figure out what can be your own competitive advantage. You may not know where the industry will go exactly, but the direction is clear. The direction is clear. There's always going to be growth in this industry, always going to be growth in this industry. And as I said at the beginning, know where you are, know what it is that you're doing, and take the next step. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the presentation. It was amazing, and we are glad that you did. We won't be taking questions now. Okay, we won't be taking questions now. I'll just present something for us. Then we get the second speaker. It is after the second speaker that we will entertain questions. So one of those things that I want to talk about is the Bincom Tech Network. Is a community. Okay, some of you know it as Bincom Tech Club. Tech Club, tech clubs are the groups, and the groups are all together under one umbrella, and the umbrella is called Bincom Tech Network. We recently extended this to WhatsApp, and initially it was just on Slack, but now we are working on that of WhatsApp. We have expanded it. It's almost ready. In fact, we are already working. It is already engaging. So please, this is a community where such conversations do hold. It is non-stop. Okay, so this is just a glimpse. This is just something short that we can have, but we can continue this conversation in the tech clubs. So we have the general tech clubs that have several instances, right? We have the blue book, the green book, all of that. All of them, the instances, the first, the six one, the six, we have six instances that are the same thing. It's just we just did that for the sake of numbers. However, we have ones that are specific knowledge track driven, right? We have one that is for software engineers, software engineers, and we have one that is for generally for designers. We have another that is generally for project managers, right? We have one that is for Gen AI. You're interested in Gen AI, right? It is also for you. So we have such groups like that. So if you are into Python and all of those things, you can join Python back end, front end. You can join the one for software engineers. Now, however, I did not drop all the links in the chat box, but I dropped the link for the Bincom Tech Club, right? So if you join the Bincom Tech Club, it is just one of the groups. If you join it, you will be able to see other other groups because it's a community, right? So you can just request you can just request to join. You can request to join. Um I had a video I wanted to share, but I will wait because our second speaker wants to come on the shares other engagements. So permit me to welcome Dr. Vendra. You now have the floor, ma. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to be here for long. I think I had to go at 12. So I'll try and compress my talk into, I guess, some very key points. So initially, I was going to give you an overview of my career and how I've gotten to where I am and what I've learned along the line. So I think quick overview of my career. So I currently work in GRC space, that's within information security. I started my career centuries, feels like centuries now, centuries ago in banking. I started with private banking and then moved into the e-commerce space before moving on to do my master's in telecommunication. I used to be quite passionate about working within the telecom space, but that sort of changed and I found myself in security, working in sort of like project management within the security space. After a few years, I decided to go for my PhD. It was a very awkward, strange decision. In those days, I used to think I wanted to be a politician, and I thought, well, PhD is sort of like on the pathway to becoming a Nigerian politician. So I went for that and ended up in computer science. Um, did my PhD for a few years and then went back to security. I worked at the University of Warwick for a few years, for about 5 years. And then a few opportunities came up and I decided to move into the fintech space. Changed careers and changed industry and moved into fintech. I've been at Tech for 2 years and I'm about to make another move again, but I'm going to talk to you more about that. So that is just a quick overview of my career. Now, um, I guess a lot of the audience, you're starting out in your tech careers and you'll think, oh, there's so much to learn, there's so much to do. Where do I start from? What do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Um, I think the most important thing is to think of your career as sort of like a business, something you manage. So when you think of a business has got like its managing director, its CEO, and it's important to think of your career as something where you're the CEO, something you own ultimately. I think Buddy mentioned things around that. You should take full ownership for your career. And how do you become a CEO of your career? There's so many ways to look at that. But when you think about, oh, I'm starting up a business, one of the first things you're going to think about is, what do I want to do with this business? What sort of like services or goods do I want to sell? So I think you to decide that in terms of your career is you need to understand the game, you need to understand the industry. So you need to understand how the tech industry works. You actually need to also have a lot of self-awareness, do your self-discovery. What are my skills? What am I good at doing? Where do I want to be and what do I need to know to be there? So understand the gaps in your skills. And I think that's one of the first steps. As part of understanding the gaps, you also have to be able to chart a very basic career path. It's not compulsory that you have to stick to that path. You can start today as a project manager and end up somewhere very different. But again, you have to have a rough idea of what path you want to take to get to where you want to go. And once you've got this awareness, once you've got a good understanding of what you're dealing with, the next step is you want to level up. So how do you level up? A lot of that is learning. Learning comes in different forms. So Bade again mentioned there's a lot of books. You've got YouTube, you've got formal learning, you've got work experiences. So just find the different ways where you can get like this different learning and experiences. As part of that, as part of learning, one of the things that's actually quite important is actually continuous feedback, having feedback on what you know and what you're doing. Always seek for feedback. If you've got a job, always ask people that you work with for feedback. If you don't have a job, always just find a way to get feedback. Um, as part of that, trying to level up, networking again, it's one of those really important tools in your toolkit. Try to build your network, people you went to school with, people you want to work with, people you currently work with. So just always build your networks. So that's the second step. Then you want to make smart moves. You think, okay, a lot of businesses, they've got like their board of directors. Those are people that are very interested in the business doing well. So again, you want to identify who are your board of directors. And there are various ways to do this. There are a few ways to do this. Sorry, I was just reading a message. There are a few ways to do this. So if you currently work, a lot of your mentors could be actually people you work with. So your manager or your manager's manager. If you don't work, you can look for people that have got careers that are similar to where you want to be, and you can ask them to be your mentor. I always find that one a tricky one because so many people that are where you want to be at currently get a lot of requests for mentorships for people to mentor them. So it's can be a very heavy burden on their time. But what you can do is some sort of like indirect mentoring. So if there are people that have written books, read about their career, what steps they've taken to get to where they are. You can also go to people that actually work with them and ask them for mentoring opportunities. So that's one way to your board of directors, people that are interested in what you want to do. I think I skipped something that's actually very important. So as part of understanding the game and knowing what you want to do, one very important thing that you have to do is to define what success means to you. And this is not something that you're going to define at the beginning of your career, and that will be relevant for the rest of your career. So you're going to have to do that exercise a few different times. And to define what success means to you, you have to know what your values are. So I've said to you that I've sort of like changed careers at different times in my life. So the most recent change I've made or I'm about to make is I'm going into a new job, and it looks like a backward step in my career. But at this moment, what success means to me, it's being able to have a better work-life balance, being able to spend more time with my children. I've gotten a really good promotion where I'm at, but what that translates to is that I have to spend a lot more time at work doing things like defining, having clearer roadmaps and a lot of implementing of strategies. I've got three very young kids, and that's not something I'm able to take on at this moment. So I've gone back to more of an individual contributor role. It's not necessarily such a step backward because it's also in line with my career goals. I'd like to learn more of the architecture side of security. But again, it just means that what success means looks like to me right now, it's very different again. So you have to define what success means to you, what are your key values, what you want to achieve at the end of the day. So that's something you would have to know as part of understanding the game and just looking for roles that fall in line with that. I know at this time you're thinking, oh, I'm at the beginning of my career and I actually happy to do anything. Again, that can also feed into what success means to you right now. What success could mean to you right now would be I'm opening to doing any and everything to get the right level of experience. But that definition will keep changing as you grow in your career. So we've talked about having your board of directors, so people that can help you get to where you need to be. Another very important tool for making smart moves is actually your CV and your cover letters. Write a very good one. Again, get feedback on that. Continue improving it until it actually gives you the impact that you want it, until you get to a point where when you send it out, you actually get responses. It's not a very easy thing to do because sometimes you can have a very good CV and you're sending it out and you're not just getting anybody getting back to you again, but still get a lot of feedback on your CVs and cover letter. Remember to tailor it to every role you apply to. I would say the four key things I wanted to talk about today was leadership, but this is more around self-leadership. So if you had a business, you would have to lead your staff and provide leadership within your business. But this is more about self-leadership. So when you think about how can I lead myself as a business, one of the important things I would say you want to do is you want to be flexible, you want to be open to new opportunities. You would actually want to invest in yourself. So any money you make from your business, from your career, you should have a percentage that you set up for personal development. In the same way, there should be a percentage of your time you also set up for personal development. So just keep investing in yourself. You want to be able to take initiatives on things you want to do. If you see an opportunity, and even though that opportunity doesn't seem accessible to you, you should be able to take that initiative. You should be able to contact people and find out what do they want? What are they looking for? Okay, even if you're not there yet, what would they like you to do to get to that point? So always take the initiatives. You should be resilient. I'm sure as a lot of you would know at this moment, the job market can be very, very tough. And you can send out 100 application letters and just not get any call back. But again, that's the market. Don't take it as a personal failure. Always just come back up. I've done interviews where I've actually got offers and said, and people have come, we'll give you this role, and in the next week they've pulled the offer for various reasons, or we don't have the budget anymore, or we're going in another direction. You should always be willing to just come back on and just keep up with the process. Even when you get the roles you like, sometimes you just get really negative feedback at work, but don't take it personally. Always look at it as more of a learning opportunity. What can I learn from this situation? How can I be better? And sometimes you don't necessarily can be better. You just look at it as one of those things. You win some and you lose some. I think my final point is don't be afraid to pivot. If you're on one path and it seems to be going well, and sometimes you just think, okay, this is not what I want to do anymore. I've started, I'm a very good developer. I've got so many opportunities, but I'm not interested in development anymore. I actually want to do something else in tech. Don't be afraid to actually make that move. Look for opportunities. Make sure your skills are usually transferable in tech, as Bade mentioned. Just reframe them in that way and don't be afraid to pivot and change your goals. I think that's all I've got to say at the moment. Sorry, I don't have enough time to go into details, but that's it. So happy to take any questions. Thank you, Hassan.
All right. We can keep listening to you on and on and on. Since you are stopping, it's also fine. So thank you so much for coming on board. I would like to go straight into the Q&A session so that we can all get heated up. I know that people have a lot of things, right? And we like having people like Bendra because we want also supporting women in tech. And I believe the women, you can see the ratio, like even from the participants. So it's good to have people like you. I believe it to be able to encourage other women to pursue their career, to reach to the top of their career. So thank you very much. Please, I is now for Q&A. So please, you can drop your questions in the chat box. I already have some questions that I have received. Some from some of our tech clubs, some on the from Slack on Bincom Tech Network, and all of that. So I already have some of these questions documented. I have two that I have not gotten them yet, but I know where they are, so I know where to pick it. So, however, since we already have people here, so you can just drop your questions in the chat box. I have it inside. I have my chat box inside now. So please, you can drop your questions so that we can go straight into it. Someone, okay, okay. I think there's one by Samuel already. Let me just expand my chat box so that I can see all the messages. Um, all right. So any of okay, let me read the question. Okay, what advice do you have for navigating the job search process in the tech sector, especially for entry level positions? I'll take that again. It's a question from Samuel. What advice do you have for navigating the job search process in the tech sector, especially for entry level positions? Yeah. So any of you can take the question.
Bernard, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can go first. So, for I think you said for navigating the job search positions, um, I'd say again, one of the biggest things is making sure your CV is quite good. Um, I haven't lived in Nigeria for a while, but I would say typically in the UK, it's having a CV that's no longer than 2 pages and having a lot of the keywords for the roles that you're looking for. And it also helps. I know it's entry level, but they are always looking for some sort of like experience in what you're doing. So, like what Badi mentioned, nobody would ex employ you to be a coast guard when you have actually can't swim. So it actually helps to have some practical experiences. I know that can be difficult to come by, but again, if you've had free work experiences, if you've done something as part of your final year project at school, if you've just done a lot of personal development, so if you've built like personal projects, you can put all of that into your CV and it actually counts. Um, I think how far can, okay, sorry, I'll just keep going. Yeah, into that. So if you've got a lot of personal projects, those can help as well. And sometimes we actually have some of these projects and we're not actually thinking about it in the scope of things that can help. So if you're applying to be a project manager and maybe you've worked as an event manager for an event, maybe organize the party, you can actually reframe that experience in such a way that is useful for a sort of like a project management entry role. That would actually count if you can talk end to end on how you manage that event, how you sourced for vendors, how you made sure everything went according to time and budget, the feedback you got for the people that you planned that event for. That would actually translate very well into good project management experience. And I think it's the same way. So if you think about business analysis, what are the goals? If you think about data analysis, what sort of data analysis have you done in your personal life? Did you do a final year project that helped with data analysis? So you can actually document all of this. Can also get experiences from working for charities. So all of those things you can put in your CV. I think no, we've said a lot about networks, but networking actually really helps. Um, Over the course of my career, a lot of people that I've seen got placed were people that reached out to someone and said, "Oh, I'm looking for this role. Can you talk to people in the network and see if anyone is recruiting?" So that actually helps. Patty, you can add to it. I need to pick up my son. He wants to come in now.
All
I
right.
think you covered it pretty nicely. Well done, brother.
All right. I would want you to take this next question. We had a conversation with someone recently about it, and Verdini is asking one of those questions here. So, Mr. Bade, you will go first. If uh, uh, Benja is still around to take it, it's fine. She will also contribute more. And the question is, how far the certifications do certifications help to get into the market as a one with minimum experience? Can it make any difference in the job search in the UK? Right. So this is the question is tailored to UK. So I don't know if it's clear enough. Should I take it again or it's
Yeah,
clear?
it's clear enough to me. So I would say some facts, then I would say my opinion, right? And I will try and distinguish between the two of them, as much as possible. Generally speaking, most organizations do not care about your certification. They simply do not care. What they care about is if you have the theoretical experience and the practical experience at the level that you are applying to. So whether it's entry level or the next stage, intermediate level, and so on. So these are facts. They really don't care. So you could say if you're in the project management line, you could say I have PMP certification. What you have only told me is that you have theoretical experience around project management. What I still don't know is if you have the practical experience in project management. Have you managed a project before? How did that project go? Did you apply all of this theory that you know into that project? Do you even understand what you were doing in the first place? Do you understand how what you were doing fits into the best practice or the theory of things and so on? Same thing with software engineering as well. Same thing with cloud architecture or cloud computing as well. You can say you have the AWS certification, but what you've really told me is you have the theory experience. What I'm interested in is that have you even touched the server before? Do you know how to boot up a server? Do you know how to swap the disk on a server and whatever it is? So those are facts. My opinion is that if you have the opportunity to do certification, yes, go ahead, but don't prioritize it. Prioritize the having the right experience, right? And a number of times, it is easier to even pass the certification when you do have the right experience. What a number of beginners try to do is, oh, let me gather all the certification and then I present it to my interview board. It doesn't work anymore. If it used to work, it used to work in the 90s and 2000s. It doesn't work anymore because most organizations have figured out that that doesn't really matter. And that's the reason why, even for degrees, right? A lot of organizations now no longer require you to have a degree for their entry level roles. Large organizations like Google and even smaller organizations as well. So I've said the fact and I've said my opinion as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So I would like Benja to contribute. Then Verdini, I can give her the floor if she's clear. So do you get the question, or I should read it for you?
I think it's the question around certifications and if they add value.
Yes, and can it make any difference in the job search in the UK, to be precise?
Okay. I think it's one of these ones that actually depends on the your specific industry. So within security, there are a few certifications that would add values to your job search. There are some jobs that I've interviewed for and they've only considered me because I've got my CISSP. And I think what the certifications actually show is that you've got the breadth of experience and understanding of the different domains of security. So if you were to look at this, if you were to do a career in project management and you had your Prince 2, that would give you the theoretical knowledge, like Bade said, but that wouldn't show your practical experience. And for career like project management, you need actually more of the practical experience than the theoretical knowledge. For security, it's quite different because security is very broad. So you can have very good experience in one of the domains, say security incidents and response, and have very poor understanding of the other domains. So if you were to have a more generalistic certification like CISSP, what that would tell an employer is that although you've got your core area where you understand, you've also got like a broad theoretical understanding of the other areas. So that's why that adds value. Um, so so I think it comes down again to the specific type of certification. And within security, we've got a lot of the pen testing certifications, and for you to get them, you actually need to have the practical experience. You actually need to be a very good pen tester. So again, it's looking at when you think, okay, I'm going to do a certification, is looking at what you're actually hoping to tell an employer by having that certification. So it's again, I'm trying to find the right word, but it is understanding the objective of the certification. Um, some certifications don't really add a lot of value at the entry level. Um, the employers just want to see experience, and your degree is actually good enough compared to some certifications. So if you've got a degree in computer science, very few people will be asking, would expect you to have some of the very basic foundational certifications like AWS found essentials and all of that. But again, it's knowing the objective of the certification. Once you understand the objective of the certification, then you can understand if it's valuable to your job search rather than just having lots and lots of certifications.
Okay. Thank you so much. Verdini, you're on the call. Do you want to say something? Is it clear? Are you satisfied? Or did that prompt any further question? You can actually unmute and speak.
I think she dropped additional information on the chat.
Okay, okay, let me check it. Okay,
Um,
I'll read it. Yeah, okay, you can take it.
I was just going to ask, what IT career is she looking to get into?
Project
Yeah.
management.
Okay, project
Next
man.
question.
Okay, project management. I've worked in project management, but more from security project management. And what has typically helped with that has been more experience, not IT focused experience, but generally experience. And it's more of actually your people skills and how organized you can be. So if you're at an interview, that's more of the questions they'll be asking for. How do you work with difficult people, but less of the certifications? That's my personal opinion around certifications and project management.
Okay, okay. So there's this question she dropped. She said, "Thank you so much for the responses. Is it safe to choose project management as a career at the age of 25? PS, no experience."
I can take that. So the short answer is yes. What I would just say is you may want to expand it a bit and do project and product management. Those are two different fields. Those are two different careers, but a lot of times at the beginner entry level, they are similar enough for you to be able to cope with building expertise at the beginner level, that is, in both of them at the same time. So a lot of times you may be able to be exposed to becoming a product manager or a project manager, depending on what field or industry you are. And if in Bincom Dev Center, we also add service management to that perspective as well. So in the PMO office, you've got service manager, you've got project managers and product managers. So you may want to think about something along that line. Age is not a barrier. You can start at any age. An interesting thing around project management is that you've probably done project management before. You just may not know that it was called that. You've probably done business analysis also before. You just may not know it was called that at that point. So, Bendra was saying if you were to help somebody organize an event, you're organizing a bridal shower for someone. I was in IT project management, but that was project management. The same concepts apply. What you then want to be able to do is understand the theory of it, of how this fits into the best practices and the theoretical aspects of things, and you need to be able to wrap all of that around to become something you can talk about at interviews to say, oh, I've done this before in this light. I just need an opportunity to now do it in the field of technology.
Okay, that was great. Thank you so much for our speakers for responding to these questions. Sorry, we will not dwell more um on that question because we want to entertain other questions. So Bendra dropped a tip. She said, and you can start as a PMO, project management office. So you can check that up. You can actually read it and know more. This thing is good. And for general notice, we will this recording is on our YouTube channel. So for you to get the most out of it, you may likely need to watch it more than once. Okay, so you can go back to our YouTube page, Bincom Dev Center on YouTube, check our channel, and watch it. Okay, don't forget to give us a thumbs up when you do that, and subscribe for such videos as well. You can also look back to other events we held like this. They can really help. So there's this question by Olivia. I would like to read it out. She said, "What advice?" Okay, I'll take the question by Olivia. The first one, we'll just deal with the first one first. What advice can you give to us on how to deal with a male-dominated career path? Um, yes. If I didn't
Yeah.
ask the question right, Olivia, you can unmute and ask. Okay, what
Uh,
advice can you give? Yeah, yeah.
okay. Sorry, I'm just reading it. Okay. So, what advice can you give on dealing with the male-dominated career path? I think there's a lot I can say for this because I work in information security and it's a very male-dominated career field. But I would say, I'd say the biggest thing is to be authentic, to not try to reduce your womanhood and try to act like one of the men. Just be who you are and just do your best work. There are no ways around it, but be ready to have people question your expertise every single time, but also give them the grace and be willing to show that you know what you're doing, but without being less of yourself.
Okay,
I've always thought
thank you.
you can't actually afford to not be, you always need to be better. I think that's the way I've approached it, is you always need to be better because as a woman in a male-dominated field, your expertise would always be questioned.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think that question was for you, right? Because of
Yes.
your natural experience in it. Okay. So yes, if uh, we possibly don't need Mr. Biden to contribute more so that we can just go to the second question. She said, if yes, sir, there are other questions. Mr. Biden is smiling and nodding. Okay, if I have a company in mind, I would like to work with and have sent my CV every time there's an opening, but still get rejected. What can I do? She added an information that there have been significant improvements before reapplying. Okay.
I'll give a personal story for that part of the question. So, coming out of school, I had a specific company in mind. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, that I believed that I was going to work in. In fact, I was very clear that that is where I'm a Christian, that is where God was leading me to work in. But unfortunately, when the time came, and if I had just been ready, just maybe 3 months earlier, I would have gotten into the company. But then by the time I was ready, there was an embargo on recruitment in the company, right? And it was a bit disappointing for me. But that led me into a pathway that I believe was the right pathway for me all along. But circling back to that story is the fact that 10 years later, I ended up working for that company, not at entry level, not but as a consultant, where they brought me in as an expatriate to come solve a problem for that company. So it was, and we worked in the company for like 3 months or 6 months or something like that. And so at that point in time, it was clear that yes, I still got the opportunity to do what I thought I wanted to do, just many months, many years later, and so on. Now, the reason why I put that story up front is the fact that if that company is not accepting you, then apply to other companies, right? Continue building your career, continue being the right person. One of the idiosyncrasy right now is if you are globally attractive, you would have options. Interestingly, that company may end up headhunting you in the future because they are looking for the exact thing that you have, and you are the only person they can find in the industry that has that thing. So they're headhunters. Headhunters is a role within the tech space at the moment. What they do is they look at people working in competing organization, they have lunch with you, and then offer you times two of your salary to ditch that company and move to another company. But of course, you have to be globally attractive before you get to that level, kind of thing. So here's what I'm saying. If they rejected you, if there's an opening, apply, but don't feel bad because you've been rejected. Apply in many other places as well. Make sure that you are growing. And as you're gradually growing, what is happening is that you will be able to add value at a more senior level and so on. And you never know how these things will turn out eventually. You're mute, Alazan, so we can't hear you right now.
Wow,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution. before I ask Olivia if she's okay with it, um, I don't know if Benja is available to add to that, if she has anything to add.
I think Badi has said all the right things. For my experience with recruitment is sometimes it's not a case of you're not good enough, it's just you're not the right person at that time. And I think just to put a personal story there, the other day I was having an interview for a specific role, but that wasn't even the role I wanted with that company. So I said, oh, I also applied for this role. Why wasn't I called? Why was it rejected? And the recruiter said, oh, because you were overqualified. It's just like, no, that role was beneath you, but from my own perspective, it was a right fit, but they just didn't think that. So again, it's so many different reasons on why you're not fit for the company at that time. And sometimes it's not just something for you. But you're asking what can you do? What you can actually do is to send a message to the recruiter and ask for feedback if possible. Sometimes they would agree, especially if you've had at least one interview. You can ask them for detailed field feedback just for your own personal development, and they'll usually give it to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Olivia, do you have anything to say, or it's okay? Okay. Okay. So it's fine. It's fine. So thank you so much. We'll just take the next question. Um, I have them here. Wow. I may not even have time to give the questions that people have given me before now, but it's good that we have a lot of questions to discuss. So let me just read the next question. Uh, to Bendra, I think you've. What career path would you advise for someone who has done CompTIA, CompTIA, network and security classes, AWS Foundation certifications, and some pen testing skills? PS, I don't have a computer science degree.
Uh,
Okay, I think you've answered that, right?
Yes,
Security
so
analyst.
yes, security analyst, that would give a really general introduction into security. And they typically need a lot of the network security knowledge as well as the vulnerability and AppSec knowledge. So his knowledge with network security, pen testing, that would help.
All right, all right. Thank you. Um, Mr. Bade, do you have something to add to that? You are muted. You are
It's
muted.
well covered. Thank you.
All right. Jafaru, do you have further questions regarding that?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Samuel has another question, but Samuel, you bear with me. I will take question from others first. Okay. Okay. So the questions in the chat box are exhausted. I'll just take your question before I take for a couple of questions also from the ones people have given me. People are sending appreciation for please for answering their questions. Okay, they are sending appreciation for you in the chat box. So yeah. Okay, he said, I do have a question in regards to internship application. I applied the IT project assistant slash admin assistant. I skipped the question in regards to my experience in PM. Does that reduce my chances? I
I
think
can
that's
take that since I'm familiar with the process. So Samuel, I believe you're talking about the Bincom internship in your question. And what you've been asked to do is, if you are unable to answer the question, because those are the basic knowledge you need to be able to join the internship, what would happen is you get invited to something called Bincom Academy. It's usually a 1 month class. It's a monthly cycle, and you may need one or two classes depending on your knowledge track. And once you've gone through that Bincom Academy class, you will be better equipped to answer the question that you were given as the preliminary stage of the interview for the internship application. So what I would encourage you to do is take opportunity of that class. In most cases, you would get a scholarship for the 1 month class. And once you've done the class, you should then be able to answer the question and continue with the internship application at that point. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you, sir. Samuel, are you on the call? If you're on the call, if you have further questions regarding that, you can. Okay, he said thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Let me just read a couple of these questions that I have. There is one. Someone dropped two questions for me on Slack. So please, if I'm unable to reach my Slack, the person I think is on the call, so you can actually ask the question yourself. Okay, so this one question, someone sent it to me from the Bincom Tech Club on WhatsApp. Uh, the person asks, what is the significance of certificate in bracket institutional in being considered for a tech role in Nigeria? Someone asked this question for the UK, now someone is asking it for Nigeria. Mr. Badi, you may want to answer that.
Yeah, so Nigeria is a little behind the UK. So if you have a degree, you have a better chance than somebody that does not have a degree in Nigeria, which is unlike the UK where most organizations really don't care about your degree anymore. But Nigeria is also getting to that stage where a lot of organizations are no longer requiring you to have a degree. However, if you do have a degree, then because Nigeria's law says that you must have done NYSC, you need to have done your NYSC as well if you do have a degree. But if you don't have a degree, a number of organizations are no longer caring about that. So it's not as much as in the West, but that's also something that's going on. But what you should do is if you have the opportunity to get a degree, do get a degree.
All right. Thank you very much. So he mentioned NYC. So please, if your age is beyond NYC, don't bother. NYC will give you. I think is it exemption certificate is as important as the NYC certificate. It's just so yes, where NYC is needed. If you present that, you don't have an issue. People go to the extent of forging, making their way into. So please, you don't need to do that. Just take the exemption. It's really fine. It's not your fault. A lot of factors affected that. So thank you very much. Let me take this next question. Um, so the question is, do I have any business getting CISM certification if I am aspiring to be a certified ethical hacker? And what else do I need to build on? I'll take the question again. Do I
I've got
have?
the question. I've
Okay,
got
you've
the
gotten it.
question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, this the CISM it's more of a security management certification. So no, I, if you send me a message on LinkedIn, I can send you the pathway to become a hacker, a pen tester, which is the same thing as an ethical hacker. But no, don't do the CISM.
Wow. Wow, this is a big opportunity. She just said you should send her a message on LinkedIn. She'll give you a clear path to that. Okay, so if the person is on this call, is not on this call, I'm not checking the participant because I'm checking my chat box and the sheet where I have the questions. So if the person is not on this call, I'll try to track back the question because I think it's a DM that I got from WhatsApp.
Okay.
Try to track it back and give the person the feedback so that I believe they'll be grateful to send you. Someone said, can you share your URL, your LinkedIn URL? She
Mhm.
did that all earlier. So if you can just check the chat box, you can just, yeah, she just did that again. So please, you can connect with her. Mr. Biden, if we can have yours again too, so that people can also connect. And any other person on the call, you can share your LinkedIn URL so that other people can connect with you. Connection is important. Okay. There's another question, the third question on my list here. It says, "What advice do you have for someone transitioning from another industry into tech?" What advice do you have for someone transitioning from another industry into tech?
think I'll start with that. So like I said earlier, it's knowing what you want to do. So if you know what you want to do, you can also do like an inventory of your skills and understand what you already know, then identify the gap, what you need to learn, and just pick up the skills, then reframe your experience using tech language, I guess. Bade, if you got more to add to that.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to start from the beginning. Right? It may be a bit frustrating. I've seen that in the past, but you need to learn those basics as well. So you may be in class with a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old and all, learning the exact same information, the exact same knowledge. You will need to just basically humble yourself and learn. Don't
Yeah.
try and say, "Oh, I know it all," because you were in a different industry. Second thing is that you probably have some transferable skills that you've had in your existing career that you can transfer into the field of technology. Sometimes when I do this career advisory for people like that, what we do is that we take a look at what have you done in the past and then try looking at, oh, what are the similar roles in the field of technology that it's easier to port into and is transferable into. So those are the kinds of things that you may want to also think about, right? So if you've not been in the analytical sector, then all of a sudden you say you want to become a software developer. Right? It may be harder than somebody that's been doing things that are more analytical and then trying to be a software developer. It's easier for them because they already have the logical reasoning, the quantitative analysis, and all of that. What they then need is just learn the logics and all. So it's just be able to chart your pathway and be able to know that you're starting from scratch. You need to learn and you need to learn very fast.
Yeah, so just to add to what Badia said and to borrow his storytelling approach, one of my siblings, she used to work within the petroleum industry. I think she actually has a master's in petroleum engineering. Um, she's moved into data science, so she's now a data scientist, I guess. But one of the ways she used to get in there was when I was doing my PhD, I was doing a lot of analytics, and there were some things I was struggling with, but she was the one I was always going to when she was doing her petroleum engineering course. She was so good with mathematics. Like I asked her, what does this mean? And she would break it down to me. And when she moved to Canada, she decided, oh, I just wanted a new career. And the first thing she did was she was just like, I have zero understanding of technical computing concepts. So she found the course on Coursera. I think it was a 6 month mini course, mini degree, and she did all of that. And then decided she needed a lot more skill sets within a lot of the data engineering field, and then she did a master's to top that up. But once she was done with that, with her previous petroleum engineering skills, she was able to get a direct role into data as a data scientist. And she's doing actually a lot better than I'm doing as the person who introduced that to tech. And that's been a common theme with a lot of my siblings. They've been able to like say, okay, I am moving from this course that actually has no bearing to tech and they're able to move into tech. I've got another sibling who's currently looking to move from pharmacy into tech, and it's the same process. So again, it's looking at what you already know, what you're already good at. So if you've managed people, you can start from project management. If you're good with numbers, then analytics is a very good entering point. So it's knowing what you know and what you need to know to get to where you need to be. And I think it's very important that you actually also believe in yourself because I've spoken to people and they've gone, oh, I can't learn that, I can't do it. But if you've studied in the past, if you've studied anything, then I believe you can learn anything. You just need to give yourself that time and that space and understand your learning patterns. But again, it's very important to believe in yourself, to advocate for yourself, to push yourself. Again, that comes back to the ownership and to the self-leadership. But you need to believe that you can learn it.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we've had great contribution for that question. So I'm almost closing the Q&A session because we are running out of time. So I'll just entertain two questions that I copied that were sent to me. So we entertain them. There may be one more, or that's all. Then we go to the next stage and round up. Um, are there specific industries or sectors within the tech field that are currently experiencing notable job growth? Are there specific industries or sectors within the tech field that are currently experiencing notable job growth? I believe he's talking about job opportunities.
Oh, so the answer is yes. Gen AI, as of right now, huge. Metaverse, so that's AR, VR, and what's the last one? Augmented reality, virtual reality, all of that. It's really, really huge at the moment. It's going to be really big. Many of us are looking at a computer screen at the moment. I predict, this is a prediction, right? And there are big companies that have actually pivoted because of the same prediction, that in 5 to 10 years, many of us will probably have VR goggles on, and that's what we'll be using to access the digital space. Just a prediction. What that means is that there are many roles that will be happening, is also there are many things that will change because of that. So many roles along that line. But that's on the technical side of things. Software programming, generally, the only thing is that when you're writing software now, bear in mind that things that you would have had to do by going to Stack Overflow to get an answer, now there are Gen AI, Copilot, and so on, that's going to answer it for you. So you need to be really, really good. You need to be the top 20% in your software programming field if you really want to remain as a software programmer, because the average person, when I was younger and when I was getting into career, part of how I made money was by building websites for organizations. Now the average person can build their own website themselves. Very soon, the average person can build their own apps by themselves. However, in building those websites, they are basic. If you need something complicated, you still need software developers. That's in our generation now. Same thing will happen. If you need something more complicated than just the plain vanilla, you will need that. But I was going to point out that the underlining question in there is that which career should I jump into? Look for the one you are passionate about, right? Don't look for, oh, this is the long list of the career line. If you Google it, you see a long list. Don't start from there. Start from what are you passionate about, because you will get frustrated if you are doing it the other way around. Back to you, Alison.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for that contribution. So if you're a product manager, you can look into the chat box. Olivia has something encouraging for you. It seems with all the question marks, people will still need products at the end of the day. So it's a shout out for product managers. So the second question is, what are the current in demand skills and certifications employers look for in the tech job market? What are the current in demand skills and certifications employers look for in the tech job market? Any of you can take the question.
I think for that question, it's difficult for me to respond for what they're looking for everything tech. It's always going to be down to the specific tech domain that you want to work within. So if I was to talk about security, I would say one of the biggest things in the market for this year is risk management. And that is actually tied to the DORA regulations that's going to roll in 2025. It's just asking for, if you deal with, I think, is it you money, then you've got to have a good risk management framework. So that's a skill that's in demand. A skill that would always be in demand within the security environment again is for security analysts, just being able to do a lot of the SecOps and incident management. Cloud architecture is one of the strong skills in demand because, again, most companies are actually not cloud first, so you have to have a lot of those cloud skills. So is it cloud security, DevOps, and all of that? But you need to understand your cloud environment. If you were to talk about In terms of software, actually, Badi should be able to respond to that well. I think there's some languages and frameworks that are more in demand than others, but they should be able to keep a steer on that.
Yes, Mr. Badi.
Yeah, so C Sharp is growing. PHP still powers over 60 or 70% of the web at the moment. Python is growing and R because that's the default language for ML, Gen AI, and all of that at the moment. So those are some that you may want to think about. And then, of course, we've got the JavaScripts of this world. When I was younger, JavaScript was a language we should not be using, but now JavaScript is the one that everybody is using for the front end of solutions and even back end as well for Node.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, interestingly, I actually started with C++. So I'll ask you, sir, is it out of the game? Is it growing? Is it
That's a very interesting question. The answer is no, but it's only available to you at the advanced expertise level. So if you're just starting, you need to know that you are going to be in a long lull, right? Before you now start getting interesting at the point when you're at advanced skill level. So we are talking many, 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 many years of experience, right? And so you may be underpaid for many years, but eventually you may get to a point where it becomes really interesting. Right. So it's not beginner friendly, let me put it that way, in terms of
okay?
the career path.
I think I think that's one of the reasons that it made me to start thinking if I made the wrong choice coming to mistake. I actually started with C plus plus. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, I'm just looking at my chat box. Okay, I'm even finding it. Okay, okay. Service managers, the beginners, see why you need to understand the practices around the framework you use in managing your service. Speaking to my IT4 framework users, Olivia is an advocate for these frameworks. Okay, so thank you very much. You can also follow her. She does a lot around that. I somehow sometimes do see her work on her page. All right. Thank you so much to our amazing speakers. This is Rich. I think I myself will have to watch this session again because there was so much information, and um for me to be able to process that, for me to able to process that, I will need to watch this again. Someone just send me a private message. I want to ask if all this is related to UI UX design. You can unmute and ask. Please feel free. Please feel free. You can unmute and ask so that you can explain yourself better. I think you may go beyond text.
Um, Well, I heard the question, and the answer is yes. It's related to UI UX, but don't just stay at being graphics designer, because now everybody can be a graphics designer. A few years back, it was the fact that we all had Canva, and we could use Canva to do our designs. It would give us a template. You simply have to change some things, and that's it. But now it's even things like building UIs and so on. We now have tools to help us do that. Figma has introduced a Gen AI solution on top of what they've done and so on. So there's a lot available to you. What you want to do is then gradually ensure that you have built more skill and more expertise so that those that use those tools will consult you when they need to do more complex stuff.
All right. Thank you, sir. I believe that uh, will help the person that asked the question. Thank you for that. So just like I said, we've come to the end of the Q&A session. Just to enter the next stage to be able to round up. So please, the conversation continues. If you are not part of our tech community, please join the Bincom Tech Club. If you do, you will see other groups that are specific to what you do. Right then, from there, you can request to join, and I believe the admins, the group moderators will maybe verify one or two things, then let you in. Okay, so please thank you everyone for waiting this far. So before we go, I still want to share one more thing with us, something I want to introduce first. So I'll just share my screen, the video that I want us to watch, then we wrap up. Can you see my screen?
I am the professional service.
Were you hearing me? I just paused it just to confirm.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
All right.
Services lead at Bincom Dev Center. Bincom Dev Center is a multi-location tech training and development center in Nigeria, and our major objective at Bincom Dev Center is to produce over 1,000 quality tech individuals every year. These people are highly employable, globally attractive, and highly sought after in the tech ecosystem. You ask why, right? Yes, tech talents are in high demand in international communities such as US, the UK, Canada, and France. These countries have made policies and pathways to enable immigrations for tech talents. And guess what? Average salaries of software developers are as high as £35,000 per annum, and this is at the entry level. Your talents are endless both locally and internationally. This means that the tech ecosystem is one of the highest employers of labor in Nigeria. Yet, many tech companies say that they are not able to find the right tech talents that they need. This is why we started the Bincom Global Tech Program. The program focuses on 3 major pillars, which are learn skills, gain experience, and gain exposure. The program spans between 1 to 2 years, and during this period, trainees are taken through an in-depth curriculum in their chosen tech tracks and also in development of soft skills required for them to become globally attractive in the tech ecosystem, both locally and internationally. This program helps trainees to learn tech skills, gain relevant tech experience, and also exposure to the endless possibilities and opportunities available in the tech ecosystem all over the world. Listen to some of the testimonials of our past trainees.
Yes, I had high hopes and expectations while joining Bincom Academy, and trust me, believe you me, yes, it was met beyond my expectations. I saw things I have never seen. I did things I thought I would not be able to do in the space of 1 to 3 years. I achieved so much.
Actually, my expectation was met at being at Dev Center, being my situation. I learned quite a lot of things. Learned web development, front-end development. I learned mobile development. Coming here, I was thinking I would I enrolled as a front-end a mobile development team, but later on actually lead my hand on some project of front-end teams, lead my hand on content development like WordPress, like Joomla, also work with some nice front-end frameworks like Angular and the likes.
The program has various knowledge tracks that you can choose from. Some of the technical knowledge tracks include the data science track, which is starting with Python. We have the backend track starting with PHP, the front-end mobile app track starting with JavaScript, the DevOps infrastructure track. We have the UI UX graphics track, and also the software testing and quality assurance track. And apart from the technical and software programming knowledge tracks, we also have business knowledge tracks that are equally highly paid across the world. And some of them include the project, service, and product management track starting with Agile. We have the digital marketing, performance marketing track as well. That's interesting, right? Yes. This is a highly intensive program. You need to be able to commit at least 40 hours every week to the program. You can choose from our various shifts. We have the regular shift, which is the 40 hours weekly, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 1 to 2 Saturdays a month. We have the night shift, the 40 hours weekly, which is 5 p.m. till late on weekdays and 1 to 2 Saturdays every month. We also have the majorly weekend shift, which is 40 hours weekly, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays, and then 4 hours every other weekdays. We also have other flexible shifts based on your availability. Yes, all you need to start are a laptop device and a passion and hunger for IT. But wait, it gets better. We have various financial options to help you cover the cost of the program. Though the program is not free, you do not need to have money to be able to apply and be admitted to this program. The total cost of the Bincom Global Tech program over the 1 to 2 years period is 1.2 million naira. And we have one of the financing options available, income sharing agreement, which means that the company will sponsor you the entire program and you only start paying when you start the program. This means that aside the skills, the experience, and the exposure, the company is also willing to invest their money on you. It doesn't get better than that. What are you waiting for? Hurry up to bincom.net/global tech and register to launch your global tech career. Thank you.
All right. All right. Okay, that is that for the video. Thank you, everyone. I have a slide that I will want to share also briefly. So please, do not be in a hurry to leave. You can continue with the networking in the chat box while I carry us through this slide. Okay, while I carry us through this slide, and I also have a special announcement to give us some sort of a gift. Okay, so please to feel free to just engage us, right? Yeah. So so this is a presentation about Bincom Dev Center. Just it gives you an overview of what the company is, and in the company we have multiple things that we do, and one I'll just list them out. We have the Bincom Academy, which is a monthly program. It just happens in a month, but it continues every month. Yeah, so you can learn basic things that you need to learn. And also we have the Bincom Tech internship for you that are looking to get experience. Also we have the apprenticeship that gives you opportunity to be able to gain experience and work on real life projects. Then we have the community events. Then we have the community events, uh, which provide such opportunity for you to, just like the ICT career talk is one of the activities we held. Sorry, kids just came back, so my environment will be kind of noisy, but trying to put them under control. So the community events, we hold various events, and these some of them are recurring. The ones that hold monthly are the likes of the ICT career talk, and we have master classes even for startups and different sectors. We have knowledge specific community events, just like the for Python meetups and maybe PHP meetups, UI UX meetups. So these are events that we do hold regularly. So please follow us on all our social media handles so that you will not miss out. And we also have the Light Space, and in the Light Space is a co-working space that we provide. Just a token, we provide that, and pay a token, and you can be part of. You can have access to internet as well as the electricity, stable electricity. The Bincom Global Tech is just the video that we watched, right? So that explains it. I will not talk much about it. Then we have the Immigrate, which the Immigrate Tech Visa, which focuses on tech-enabled visa, right, for those that are looking to migrate maybe to the UK, to the US, Canada, France, and other countries. Okay, so you can actually join us. And we have the Bincom mentoring platforms where we provide mentees with mentors that can train them. Okay, and we also have the Labs by Bincom. The Labs by Bincom is a 3 to 6 month pre-incubator program that allows people to work together and build a project. You see, this is important in some roles that you may be applying for. People who want to see what you do. The Bincom career coaching, it also helps individuals to learn their next role, right? If you are struggling, it can help you to learn your next role faster because of the experienced people that will be coaching you with that. So this is just a deep dive into these services and that I mentioned. Right, we have various knowledge tracks for the Bincom Academy, so you can check further at bincom.net/academy. And the light space also, you can check it at bincom.net. Yes, the light space for our campuses, you can check bincom.net/campuses. You'll see the campuses we have available. Then for the community event, we have meetups, just like I mentioned, from Python, PHP, DevOps, and the likes. We have our master classes like the Bincom Startup School, right? For Startup School, it guides you on that. Social Lender Digital Financial Services master classes, and the Tech Enhanced Learning series, which is the Ed Tech. We have idea sharing series like the Bincom ICT Career Talk, Immigrate Open Day, right? These are things that you can check our website and make more researches on. Okay, for the Bincom Global Tech, we have the 3 months program. If the one year program is long for you, we have the 3 months program, which is just £1,000. So okay, it develops you all round. So after that video finished playing, I wanted to say something. That the Bincom Global Tech enables you to not just get skills, but it helps you with skills. It helps you get experience and exposure. So for those that are worried about uh, their experience and all of that, so please do not go without looking into one of our packages and subscribing for it, because it will provide you with the exactly what you want. These are the kind of services we specialize in providing, and we have a lot of our success stories that you can look into and also learn from them. Okay, so I've talked about the immigrant. We have the free package of the immigrant. So what you can check the and be part of our immigrant community. Some of the things that you can receive for free information and inspiration. The immigrant community, you can join it for free. Our monthly open day is also for free. We have introductory videos that are also for free. Some of them are on our YouTube channel, so you can do well to check it there. We have the immigrant open day consultation, which is also free. You can actually have a free consultation. We have the Tech Nation Visa ambassador office hour, and we have the short inquiries, a lot more. So with the premium, you become part of the immigrant cycle. Personalized consultation sessions, standard package review and introduction, and the likes. Okay, so we are inviting you to our next open day. It typically holds 2 Wednesdays in a month. Okay, so video recording of past editions are also available. They are also available. Okay, so we are working on also the settle in the UK visa. So you can actually apply, and if you are interested in it, you will not regret it. We have the Lives by Bincom, where you work with other techies to build something, to build to build softwares, to build solutions, to solve problems. Yes. And we also have the My Cycle form. We also have the My Cycle, where you are enabled to become our ambassador and market our products. If you are able to bring someone in to register for any of our products, for any of our services, if you're able to bring someone to do that, then you get 10%. If you follow up with the person to the point of payment, that is a lead, you get 10%. If it is 100,000, you get 10,000. So it is really something very interesting that you may want to consider. I would also like to drop um, my cycle form in the chat box, so that if someone is interested, I believe you'll benefit greatly from it. We have a process that allows you to get your commission, that allows you to get your commission. So please feel free to engage any of these services. If we have any feedback question, I'll just stop sharing my screen. Maybe if you have any feedback question, please feel free to unmute your mic. Feel free to unmute your mic and ask. So I will entertain question, please. 1 minute. Okay. So if there is no question, you can always reach us You can always send us mail. You can always send us inbox messages in our inbox from our social media handles. So follow us on our social media handles. What LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. If you follow us there, we will be able to entertain um, your questions. So thank you so much everyone for joining. Just final thoughts from our speakers, and we share the grace. All right, I would like to give you the floor. Hello Bendra, if you have anything, just final words before we close.
No final words. Just thank you for a great event.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Mr. Badi, final words from you. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just one of the points I made during my presentation, which is please take your next step. Be clear exactly what you're doing. Be clear exactly where you are at the moment in your career, and then take the next step. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to our amazing speakers. I don't know how you managed to, but we just gave them short notice due to some challenges that we faced, and they were able to deliver premium. Thank you so much. We are really grateful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of this community. Remember, the conversation continues in our communities. So join the community, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you, everyone. See you again.